Yeah, and thank you for sacrificing a few slides, thank you. So Ari-Matti, straight to you. Okay. I have a very brief about .FI registry and news from Viestintävirasto, that's FICORA, and a little bit about the situation of DNSSEC in Finland. I have now 13 minutes before the coffee break and I'm committed. Okay, that's me. I've been working with FICORA for about 10 years now. Certify the cybersecurity sector and now .FI. This is what I'm going to talk about, the brief review of .FI situation and the DNSSEC situation, how the DNSSEC is deployed in Finland, about the new law about .FI domains, and maybe something else. Okay, the .FI registry for Finnish domains has been run by FICORA for about 20 years now. Many of us remember what was before that, but now 2 decades already with FICORA. And today we have about 388,500 active domains registered. The growth has been quite linear for about 10 or 12 past years, and it has not yet stalled. Last year the number was growing about 5%. If you think about domains as a market, and the hosting providers and ISPs really should, the new TLDs, for example, they may be considered as a threat, and they might eat the share of .FI domains, but so far it hasn't happened really. And also the other trend is of course that many companies have their presence on Facebook or whatever, and not every small companies really nowadays think that they really must have a domain of their own, and much less private persons. We support IDN domains, that's localized, scandit as we say in Finland, in domain names, DNSSEC and IPv6 of course. The legislation will change, and it has actually already been changed, but it comes into action in September, and the domain requirements of .FI will be relaxed. And just a side note that Ahvenanmaa, that's Åland Islands, .ax is not managed by FICORA, they have their own registry. What we do at FICORA, we maintain the domain database, and we have the appropriate user interfaces to manipulate and make changes to domains at our website, and we also have a web service interface for registrars in Finland. As you know, nowadays anybody can register a domain directly from FICORA. You don't need to get a registrar, an ISP or hosting provider to do that, but that will change. Starting this September, everybody who has a domain in Finland, .fi, you must have a registrar that handles your domain. Then we have the WHOI service and open data service, and from September we will switch the web service to EPP, that's the extendable providing protocol, if I remember correctly. That's a new interface for us, but it has been used in all over the world for quite a long time now. And we have the exact moment, it's September 5th at 10 o'clock local time in the morning. That's because of the law, we don't have any leeway, we can't put it off until. It must happen. Another thing we manage is the FI root name server infrastructure. We have a primary A.FI run by CSC and a bunch of secondaries all over the world and operated by various providers. One of them is in physics, as we heard, and one of them is at FICORA. And we have quite a diverse name server software and hardware used, so if some platform suddenly became too risky or something, or under attack, vulnerable, that wouldn't be that much of a problem. We also use Anycast, and of course IPv6 access to the services. What about DNSSEC? The .FI zone was signed in 2010, so it's been roughly 6 years now. And the support for FI domains, late 2010, was introduced. But until then, or since then, DNSSEC has not been exactly a great hit. It has not been a success that we maybe anticipated. There are a huge number of 329 signed FI domain zones as of yesterday. If you compare this to Sweden, they have 651,000, which is roughly a half of all .SE domains. And Norway, almost 60%, that's more than 400,000 signed domains. So clearly something is wrong here. Maybe Finnish people are just not interested in DNSSEC. Is it too complicated, or are we just failing to justify all the trouble that is involved in signing your zone? That's how it's done. That's you can't really read that, but the point is that there's like 20 lines, including all the commands and all the instructions, and that's how you sign your zone. That's made by a guy from Tampere, by the way. We have published specifications in domain.fi, which has, of course, all the other stuff involving domains and DNSSEC and so forth. But the winds are changing in such way that the domain.fi domain will be merged to the viestintävirasto.fi, FICORA.fi site, because they don't think that you should have your different domains anymore. Not TV-maksu, not domain.fi, not certify, and so forth. We will become one unanimous FICORA, I think. But anyway, so far you can find it there. That's the specifications, and you might say that's a bit intimidating for someone who's not familiar with this stuff. But anyway, we should have quite clear instructions on the web, online, to do it. About future, in the near future, we will introduce new algorithms because they are requested probably by the end of this year. Right now we are too busy with the .FI system change. Okay, currently you can add your DS records for your zone by the web. There's also a little bit of a wizard to dig out the appropriate records from your zone, if you let it, and then of course the web service interface for registrars. And after September 5, nothing really drastically will change. It's only that the web service will change to EPP. And most of the Finnish big domain players will use EPP. And there will be probably many more international domain companies coming in to the market. Okay, just briefly, the zone data is stored in our database, and periodically the root zone FI root will be created, exported, sanity checked, signed and deployed to the A.FI by CSC, and we are using the hardware service module for security module for signing. That's the model SafeNet network HSM. It was used to be called Luna, and that's deployed in 2014. And before that, there was some other device that I really don't know about. About the ISPs and hosting providers running resolvers, and in order for DNSSEC to work, the resolvers should also validate, of course, the DNSSEC records, and the biggest providers do provide that. And there are some things to consider about the size of the DNS packets, the added load of resolving and validating the records, and your timekeeping. You have to have an accurate clock and so forth. But that's not really something, it's not rocket science, but you have to be aware of some things. There's a really excellent article about the DNSSEC's effects on resolvers and end users. That's in Finnish. That's the address where you can find it. Okay, I have 4 minutes, or 2 minutes. As I said, registration will soon change. The FI domains no longer are open only for Finnish registrants. Anybody all over the world can register a Finnish domain. Right now, it's like you have to be a Finnish company or Finnish person to do that. But however, no trademark infringements. You can't take an existing company name, so you will get eventually taken away the domain. And the registrar model will be implemented, and no direct registrations will be possible any longer. Another change, no working DNS servers are required as they are now. So you can buy and store domains if you please, but if you register your DNS servers, they must be technically correct, as they will have to be now. The registrars can name their price. They can bundle services with the domains and so forth. And some people have thought about this and think that the prices will get higher. We don't expect that. I think the market will sort itself out, and we don't predict any major changes. The price of individual domains for the registrars will not change at the same time now, but the law says that we can only charge as much as is needed for running the infrastructure and the domain registry. So probably there has been talk about lowering the individual .FI domain price. Again, everybody must have a registrar. If you have a domain, it will not expire prematurely, but however, you cannot make any changes for the domain if you don't have a registrar. And current system will close down on Friday, and the new system will boot on Monday, and let's all hope that everything goes well. We have some concerns, but I don't have time to dwell about that now. We have somebody has heard about the list of forbidden domains, which was required by the ministry a couple of years ago, and it was really scientifically formed at FICORA. This list will be eradicated on Wednesday, not Monday, because every registrar must have a chance to first deposit money for their account so they can buy those forbidden domains at the same time. Okay, that's all. Time for coffee if you don't have any questions.
Unfortunately, I have one question. So I'm Alexi from Tampere. You said that most major Finnish ISPs already do the DNSSEC validation in their customer-facing resolvers.
As far as I know, I tried to check this yesterday, and that's the impression I got. I haven't actually checked it.
All right.
All right, coffee then. Thank you.
Yeah.